friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a fun card for you guys using some Reverse Confetti products. I'll be using the Seriously stamp set as well as the clouds from Honey Bear. I'll be using the little starfish from Mermaid Kisses and the rock from Heart Spots. And I'll also be using the Fun Times 6x6 pattern paper pack. I'm going to be coloring my images with Copic markers today, so I've stamped my images in Memento Tuxedo Black ink on some Copic friendly cardstock, and I'm going to begin with this large rock from Heart Spots. And I wanted kind of a gray-brown color, so I'm using the E70s. I'm using E70, E71, E74, E77, and E79. And that's going to give me a nice wide variety in shading in my rock, which is what I want because I think it'll look a little more natural that way. So I started out with that E79 and I laid in all my shadows. And the next color, I accidentally picked up the E74 instead of the E77. I didn't realize it until I went to reach for the E74 and realized it was already in my hand. So I just went back with that E77 and added a bit of that, and it's a much more blendable transition from that E79. Then I'm going to go back in with that E74 and blend out that E77 just a bit. And I'm just trying to create some natural cracks and crevices, different planes for the light to hit as it shines on the rock. So I'll color the majority of what remains with that E71 and save a little bit for that E70 as my highlight. You could also add some dot detail to give it a little bit more of a craggy appearance, but since mine is actually going to be in the water, I wanted to keep it nice and smooth. For my seal, I'm using some warm grays. I'm using W5, W7, and W9. I'm starting with that W9 and laying in my shadows, and I'm just doing them very sparingly because this color is super dark. It's almost black, so I don't want to overpower the image with that dark color. On the other hand, I do want him to look like a black shiny seal, so I do want to have a little bit of that color around the edges to give him that depth. Then I'm going to come in with the W7 and begin to blend that out. Again, I'm only carrying that out just a little bit because I don't want his features to get lost. I'm also adding an accent under his chin. As you can see, I'm kind of building that color inward to give it a little bit of an indentation, and that would be kind of where his mouth is, and that's going to give his face a more elongated appearance. Then I'm going to come in with that W5 and blend out the W7. And I had originally thought that I was going to fill him in completely with the W5, but as I continued coloring and realizing how dark he was, I realized that it would be very easy for his features to kind of get lost in those darker shades. So I added in the W3 to be my highlight, and especially in the area around his eye and his nose. Just having that lighter color kind of brightens him up and just makes his features stand out a bit more. And then I just colored in his nose with that W9. For my grasses, I'm using G17 and G19. I'm starting at the base with the G19 and flicking upwards, and then I'll fill in the rest with the G17. Since my card is going to have a lot of blue tones on it, I thought this bluer toned green would look really good with the color palette that I'm going with, rather than say like a yellow green. And even though I didn't think they'd show, I went ahead and colored in the pebbles with the E79 just in case. Knowing that my card was going to have a lot of cool tones in the color palette, I was looking for a way to add a pop of warmer color. So I came across these two little flowers or starfish that are included in the Mermaid Kisses stamp set, and I decided that would be the perfect accent. So I colored the largest one with RV14 and RV17. And the smaller one with YR04 and YR07, and on both of those I just put the darker color around the center and then blended out towards the edges with the lighter shade. I used Y17 for the center of the pink starfish and BG15 for the center of the orange one. To add a little definition to my clouds, I brought in BG11 and just accented the little shapes and then put a little line across the bottom about halfway across. And then once I was done with that, I brought in my colorless blender and just went along the edges of that and blended it out into white. Finally, for the little splash marks, I took B37 and B39. I put a little line of the B39 on the bottom and then blended up with the B37, filling them in. And now I'll just trim all these out with the matching dies. For my background, I've die cut a piece of pale blue cardstock with this stitched rays cover panel, and now I'm going to take a piece of dark blue cardstock and I'm just going to draw some waves across that. Real simple. You could use a die if you have one, but this is just as easy and quick. So I'm going to grab my scissors and trim that out right on the pencil lines. Then I'm going to put that piece into my MISTI. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with some Lawn Fawn Deep Sea ink. It's a really dark shade of navy. So I'll stamp that down so it says make a splash, and I'm going to stamp it down a couple times to get a really dark impression so it stands up really well against that dark blue cardstock. Then I'm going to take some Blue Jay ink, which is a shade lighter, and I'm going to stamp this wave image that's included in the Seriously stamp set. So I'll just stamp that out 3 times across that blue border. I'm also going to stamp the inside of my card. I'm using some Lawn Fawn Mermaid ink for that. And I'm going to stamp the seal that's holding the umbrella and then the sentiment that says, I think you're seriously amazing. I really love the sentiments in this set. Super fun. I love puns. I didn't get a good impression that first time just because I had the magnet in the way, so I went ahead and stamped that 2 more times to get a good impression. This ink fades a little bit as it dries. I've added some foam tape to the back of my wave border, and I'm going to pop that up on my focal panel. Then I can begin to add my images. I'm going to add the rock with some regular liquid glue so that it looks like it's set back a little bit into the water. I have 2 larger clouds, one from the Seriously stamp set and one from the Honey Bear stamp set. So I'll add one on the left and one on the right, both with liquid glue. And then I have a smaller one that I'm going to pop up with some foam tape, and I'm going to set that in front of the larger one on the right side. I'll put a dab of liquid glue right on the rock where I want my first starfish to go. Then I'll add the second one, the smaller one, slightly overlapping the larger. The seal I'm going to pop up on foam tape and actually adhere him upside down so he looks like he's jumping out of the water and doing a backflip. Then I'm going to add the 2 little splash marks with some foam tape as well, just to accent the way that he's jumping. I'm going to reposition that first one a little bit differently. I've trimmed my pattern paper down to fit the front of my A2 size card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to adhere that with some liquid glue and just press that into place. Then I'll take my focal panel and add some more liquid glue to the back of that and just make sure it's lined up nice and straight on my card base before I press that down as well. To finish up the card, I'm going to take a white and black gel pen. I'm going to use the black to accent the little seal's eye and also his nose. And then I'm going to take the white gel pen and just add some dashes and dots to make it look like his fur is nice and sleek and wet because he's jumping out of the water. I'll just add a couple of those here and there, mainly accenting the top of his body where the light would reflect the most. And that is going to complete our card for today. There's another peek at the inside. I think this is the perfect card for somebody who just needs a little bit of encouragement or to know that you're there supporting them no matter what. I think we all need cards like that from time to time, so this is a good one to have on hand in your stash. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. I would love to have you. Here's 2 extra videos you may also be interested in, and hopefully those will tide you over until my next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.